Thank you very much. You may be seated. Good afternoon. It's good to be back in my favorite country, Nigeria. And good to be back among my favorite people, the family of Lagos. I am so happy and honored to be here today because I am with people who are visionary. I love to keep company with eagles. And so it's a pleasure to be back with people who are dreamers, those of us here who are among those who can see the future very clearly. I want to give my respect, first of all, to Her Excellency Dame, the wife of the governor. She did an excellent job today with her speech, and thank you very much for your warm welcome to the Bahamas and also to Nigeria. We expect you in the Bahamas. I also want to give my respects to all the government officials and those who are here today representing your political, social, and economic, and of course your society. I'm very pleased to be here. I especially want to say a special thank you to the founder of S.M.I.L.E and her husband. Both of them are tremendous, excited, visionary leaders. And it was in the Bahamas when she first gave birth to this dream. She was among thousands of leaders who come to us every year to study leadership and to learn and to grow. And today, I am very pleased to see that she is taking what she has learned and she is putting it into practice. The first thing you learn about leadership is you must discover your purpose and your own dream, and then have the courage to pursue it and develop it. And S.M.I.L.E is a result of someone who has decided to become what they were born to be. I was asked to come to you to speak today on the subject of mentoring and leadership. If you got something to write on, you're going to wish you wrote. Because I want to give you some information that's going to help you. I want to speak to you for a few minutes on passing the torch. I want to focus today on the power of understanding the principle of succession. I was born in the Bahamas. The Bahamas was a former colony of Great Britain, just like Nigeria was. We gained independence in 1973, and we gained majority rule in 1962. I was born in 1954. So when I was born under the British Empire. I was born ruled by a regime of a kingdom far away. We were treated as second-class citizens in our own country because, as you know, the imperial powers always seem to treat or perceive those people in the colonies as maybe little less than they are. And so we were not given the opportunity, the privilege to develop our innate abilities or our potential. And this is why many of us do not experience leadership development naturally. As a matter of fact, colonization is not designed to produce leaders. Colonization is designed to produce servants. So Nigeria and the Bahamas have the same history. We were actually trained to serve, not to lead. We were conditioned to help other people become successful and not ourselves. And normally when colonialism is thrown off, they leave the colonies in great stress because now the people must lead their own countries, but they have no leadership training. And this is why every post-colonial country is still battling with issues, especially in the area of leadership. And one of the things that I have been focusing on all my life is battling with the mental damage of oppression. Oppression leaves you wondering about your own ability, your own gifts, your own talents. It robs you of your self-concept, your self-esteem, your self-worth. It actually takes away the value of human dignity. And this is why many post-colonial countries are suffering from what I call a low leadership esteem. And this is why many of our countries battle with leadership competition. Instead of helping each other, we compete with each other. Instead of promoting each other, we destroy each other. As a matter of fact, the last thing the mentality of a third world developing country leader wants is mentoring. Because mentoring is seen as a threat to the leader. I hope in the next 40 minutes you will be transformed in this place to stop thinking like a third world oppressed thinker. Because you and I were given the responsibility now to actually deal with the most important part of leadership, and that is succession. Nigeria is a very young country. You've just experienced one of your most recent successful elections. You have come into stage 2 of democracy. The Bahamas became a democratic parliamentary democracy in 1973. We were firstly ruled by our own black people in 1962. We are 38 years old. Today, our country, which is 99% black people from Africa, we are the most successful country in the entire western region of the world. Our per capita education is the highest in the West. We hold the largest amount of gold medals from the Olympics per capita in the world. Our tourism package is the highest in the Western world. Only 300,000 people live in our country, and our tourism is 5 million a year. We obtained the highest rating for investments in the entire region of the Caribbean. Just this year, $6.7 billion was invested in one single area of our country in the Bahamas. 5 years ago, $2.8 billion was invested in the middle of a crisis, which means that our economy is the most stable in the West, and so foreign investments are not afraid to invest their monies in our country. Corruption is almost zero in our government. Parliamentarians go to jail for stealing. And one of the greatest keys we discovered in our organizations and our government leadership is this power of mentoring. And this is what I do. I am a leadership expert. I train leaders from government, business, education, corporate executives, pastors, leaders, athletes. I train leaders in all capacities. And one of the most important things I discover is that the weakest part of leadership in the Western world and in developing countries is mentoring. And yet, mentoring is the greatest leadership act. It's more important than leading. I want to prove that to you in the next few minutes. The greatest failure of leadership is lack of mentoring a successor. Because leadership is not about you leading, it's about you mentoring. The weakness of leadership is a lack of mentoring. And the greatest personal plague of leadership in developing countries is a lack of reproducing a successor. And that is why every time a leader dies, there's a war. Every time a leader passes off the scene, there's a fight in the company, in the organization, or in the political party. Why? We don't mentor people. Even in families, when someone dies, there's a fight for the spoils. And that's because we lack the power and the foresight for mentoring. The greatest fear of leadership is the success of your followers. Can you imagine that? People are afraid when their followers succeed, because they are threatened by their own followers, especially when their followers outshine them. That's a sign of an insecure person. That's not a leader. That's a sign that a person is only leaning on other people's personalities or their own, not on the strength of their character. Can I put it to you then? I always say this, that an army of sheep led by a lion will always defeat an army of lions if they are led by a sheep. In other words, the leader determines what happens to the followers. You cannot outgrow your leader and stay under them. That's why leaders need to lead with inspiration and motivation and righteousness and character. You cannot become any better than your leaders. Let me repeat what I said. An army of sheep led by a lion will always defeat an army of lions if they are led by a sheep. You see, the quality of leadership determines the quality of the followers. And this is why the greatest leader that ever lived said this statement. He said, if the blind lead the blind, they all fall into the ditch. Which means that the leader determines the destiny of the followers. So if you don't like the way things are going, it's a leadership problem. If things are going wrong, it's the leadership problem. If you are losing, there's a leadership problem. This is why when your soccer teams lose or your basketball teams lose, you don't fire the players. Who do you fire? The coach. And you can bring a new coach with the same players and they can win the tournament next year. Why? Because the problem was not the players, it was the leader inability to bring out the best in the followers. So if you want to have a great country, you don't focus on the people in the streets. You got to find out what kind of quality do we have in the leadership of our country. And that is why this organization of S.M.I.L.E. is one of the greatest acts of securing the future of Nigeria. This organization. I flew from my country 5,000 miles to come here to talk to you today because this is the most important thing you can do for your entire country. And that is stop thinking about yourself and think about the next generation of leaders. Clap your hands, everybody. Let me talk about leadership for a minute. I am believing that trapped in every follower is a hidden leader. I believe that true leadership provides environments for people to emerge as leaders. True leaders do not oppress people, they release people. In other words, the goal of true leadership is to tap into the hidden leadership ability of those around them. We are not in the business of keeping followers behind us. We are in the business of releasing people to go ahead of us. True leaders, therefore, are not threatened by the success of their followers. They actually encourage them to succeed. And that is why I'm so pleased with the S.M.I.L.E. program. Because we are here focusing not on ourselves, but on those who are coming after us. We want them to be better than us, greater than us, and more successful than we are. Matter of fact, let me put it this way. This is very important. Leadership is defined as the capacity to influence others through inspiration, motivated by a passion, generated by a conviction, produced by a vision, and a conviction of a purpose. In other words, true leaders are not people who seek followers. They discovered a purpose that's more powerful than people's opinion of them. A true leader, therefore, is born when a purpose is discovered that gives a conviction, that produces a vision, which motivates people to be inspired to die for what they're living for. Can I put it this way? You are not a leader until you found something not to live for, but to die for. Managers want to live. Leaders are willing to die. And most of the people we call leaders are simply glorified managers with titles. They don't want to die for the cause. They want to protect their position, protect their seat. Matter of fact, here's the way leadership is developed. First of all, it begins with an understanding of purpose for your life. And that's what happened to Bimbi. She discovered, finally, a purpose for her life. That's why you're here. Have you found yours? You were not born just to make a living. You were born to make a difference in the world. You weren't born just to pay bills. You were born to pay a debt to the world. So you must discover your purpose. When you find your purpose, it'll give you a conviction. Leaders have deep convictions. Nelson Mandela went to jail because of a conviction. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed because of a conviction. Mahatma Gandhi was in prison and starved himself almost to death because of a conviction. Are you a leader? Leaders have a conviction that's worth dying for. Mother Teresa gave up her whole future because of the poor people on the streets of Bombay. She had a conviction. Do you have a conviction? If you don't have a conviction, you are a manager. And that's what's lacking in our developing countries. Everybody wants to secure their lives. They don't want to give their lives. When you find a conviction, it gives you a vision of the future. And when you find a vision, the biggest word in leadership is passion. Everybody say passion. If you have no passion, you can never be a leader. And that is why most of the people you call leaders are not leaders. They have no passion because passion inspires others. And once you inspire people, they allow you to influence them. And if you influence them, then they are the ones who call you a leader. Which means that true leaders never seek leadership. The people call them a leader. Nelson Mandela never took a leadership course, never desired to be a leader. He was a local lawyer. But the whole world calls him a leader today. Why? He found a purpose and a conviction and a vision of South Africa. He had a passion to die for it. He inspired millions, and we call him a leader because he influenced an entire generation. Are you a leader, or are you just paying bills? That's what's wrong with our nations. We are so busy trying to get a title and a position, we have no passion and no purpose. No wonder why the young people are discouraged. I ask you a question. If you are a leader, then think about these things. Number one, leadership is not pursuit of power or position or authority. Leadership is simply a result of self-discovery. When you discover a reason for why you was born, when you get a vision of the future that's better than the present, if you ever get a dream that is more important than your comfort, you've found leadership. Leadership is not about you, it's about others. When you discover yourself, who you were born to be, you've discovered your leadership. You know, during this meeting, I had a few meetings with Nelson Mandela. Here's one. When I first met him, I remember shaking his hand for the first time. And when I shook Mr. Mandela's hands, I was shocked because his hands felt like rock. There was callus on every finger. As I held his hand, I realized I am touching history. I began to weep. And he smiled at me. And he said, "Young man, I see the future in you." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, I guess you're wondering why my hands are so hard." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, 25 years of using a hatchet breaking rocks on Robben Island. Have you paid the price yet? Is there callus in your fingers? Have you laid your life down for Nigeria? Or are you using Nigeria to make your life? Leadership is not about how comfortable you are. It's about what you're willing to pay the price for others to become successful. Nelson Mandela has earned the right to be a leader. Here's what he said to me that day. Write this down. He said, "True leaders never seek followers. Followers are attracted to true leaders." If you are a true leader, you don't need to ask people to follow you. Matter of fact, I am so shocked that a young lady named Pimpy came here today, and look who's coming in this building. You don't need to beg for followers if you discover a vision and a passion and a conviction that you're willing to pay the price for. Leaders are attractors of true followers. And therefore, leadership is not a right. It is a privilege given by the followers. Mr. Nelson Mandela said to me, "I have no right to be a leader. The people have given me the right to lead them." Any leader that fights to become a leader is not a leader. Any leader that destroys others to become a leader is not a leader. Any leader that oppresses others to become a leader is not a leader. Leadership is a privilege, not a right. You don't have a right to lead people. They don't have a right to follow you. Following is a choice. People are attracted to your character and to your passion to die for your cause. Can I put it another way? You were not created to dominate humans. Write that down quick. Everybody say it. You were not created to dominate humans. Why? Because you were created to dominate in an area of gifting. It's your gift that you dominate, and your gift attracts other people. Therefore, true leadership is about discovering your great gift and serving it to the world. The greatest leader that ever lived said these words: "If you want to be great, you must become the servant of everyone else." What a leader. It's about serving people your gift. So when you want to be a leader, you must discover and develop and serve your gift to the world. You must manifest who you are and give it to the world. You are not a leader if you focus on yourself. It's about other people. In other words, followers are attracted to your gift, not to you. And this is why we're supposed to serve our gifts to the world. Each one of you came to this earth with a gift trapped on the inside. And that gift is the secret to your success. And it was not given for you. Do you know that when you go to a mango tree, you never go to the tree for the tree? What do you go for? The fruit. See, your gift is the fruit. People will come to you when you serve them your fruit. Your gift. You serve them what you were born to be. I put it to you then that you were created by God not to seek success, but to become a person of value. When you make yourself valuable by your gifts, then you become the one they seek after. Great leaders never seek followers. Martin Luther King Jr. never sought followers. Nelson Mandela never sought followers. Mother Teresa never sought for followers. How did they become leaders? They were too busy pursuing their gift. They were serving their gift to the world. They had a vision, a conviction, and a passion. And people were attracted to that vision and that passion. Their willingness to die attracted people to live. You must be self-cultivating. Have a positive attitude. You must have courage. And boy, this one is tough. You must have humility. Humility means, it's from the word dirt. Humus, humble, dirt. Humble means you are down to earth. To be humble means to be yourself. If you are pretending to be someone else, you are proud. If you are trying to impress people, you are proud. A humble person is simply being who they are. What you see is what you get. We need leaders that are humble. Number 13, responsible people who will not destroy others at the expense of their advancement. Being responsible for people. And a sense of humor is important to be a leader, because if you are too serious about leadership, you'll become crazy. Learn to laugh. Learn to enjoy life. And for most important, laugh at yourself. Because you will make mistakes. You will do dumb things. Have a good laugh and get over it and move on. And by the way, don't take anybody too seriously if you're going to be a leader. The only person to trust is the one you've tested. Leaders are very sensible, and they know how to laugh, have fun, and yet they are serious. They can change the world. I sat at dinner with Nelson Mandela. When he left South Africa, the first place he traveled was to my country, the Bahamas. He came to see my prime minister, the late Sir Lyndon Pinley. And I was invited to the first dinner that he came to us. I was the youngest person in the room, and I sat there next to the great Nelson Mandela. I was shaking like a leaf, because there I was sitting next to 25 years of sacrifice. What have you done? He touched my spirit. And then he just started laughing. He was a humorous man. He loves life. Stop being so serious. Leadership is giving yourself to people, inspiring them. Can I put it this way, please? True leadership is a result of inspiration, not manipulation. Most of the people we call leaders are professional manipulators with titles. Leaders don't manipulate, they inspire people. In other words, inspiration is the opposite of intimidation. If you are a true leader, you inspire people. You don't intimidate them. If people are afraid of you, you are not a leader. I'm going to repeat it again. If your people are afraid of you, you are not a leader. You are a dictator. That goes for pastors, politicians, and presidents. People should not be afraid of a leader. They should respect them, but not be afraid of them. Jesus Christ, the most awesome leader of all times, the children ran to him. How come they're afraid of you? True leaders do not minister fear. They minister faith. They don't minister hate. They minister hope. Are you a leader? What are you going to teach the next generation? When God gives you a clear vision for your future and for the future of mankind, he wants you to contribute to, you become a leader and you serve that to humanity. Can I suggest to you then that to become a leader, you need 6 specific principles. Number 1, you need a clear purpose. Write it down. You need to know exactly why you were born. Number 2, you need to have a very clear vision for your life. You see the future that's better than the present. Thirdly, you must have a clear passion, a desire that you're willing to die for what you see. And number 4, to be a leader, you must have a trustworthiness. In other words, people must be able to trust you. Trust is not a gift. You have to earn it. How do you earn trust? I call it testing over time. Never trust a person who have no history. Never trust a person who ain't been through no battles, who've not paid a price for something that they achieved that's great. Do you know why we trust Nelson Mandela? He passed the test over time, 25 years. If you've never paid a price, no one should trust you. Your education does not demand me to trust you. It's what you've survived. That's the source of your trust. I always ask people about not what they've done, but what they survived. We like to brag about what we've done. But what have you overcome? That's the source of your trust. And leaders must be trustworthy. And the last one is you must have integrity. Integrity means that what you do in the dark is the same thing you do in the light. Integrity means you are not schizophrenic. It means you're the same in the dark as you are in the light. We need leaders with integrity. Integrity from the word integrate. Integrate means you are one. You're the same in the morning and in the night and in the evening. You're the same when no one is watching and when someone is watching. We need leaders with integrity. Integrity is what you will do when no one's watching. We need leaders who can be trusted when no one is around, that they're still living right. They're still doing right. And then finally, we need leaders who are daring. That means leaders who are willing to take chances, to make big decisions, to make the future, to announce the future, to try things that no one has ever done before. You are daring. You are beginning a journey that you haven't been on to yet. That makes you a leader. You're doing something that you haven't done before. Leaders do not create the past. They create the future. Leaders are those people who are daring to break traditions. They are daring to destroy boundaries. Leaders never keep you where you are. They take you where you've never been. It takes leaders to change the world. Managers maintain, leaders innovate. Managers protect history, leaders make history. Are you a leader, young woman? Are you a leader, young man? Are you sitting here today with a title? But are you a leader? Are you afraid of breaking traditions? Break away from the history of your life and create a new history. Leaders are always challenging the boundaries. You know, I'm amazed at this, but I discovered this. Write this down. Good leaders employ others, but great leaders deploy others. And this is where we get into mentoring. If you are a true leader, you want to release people, not control people. If you are a true leader, you want to develop people, not oppress people. In other words, true leadership is not measured by how many people serve you, but by how many people you serve. One of the saddest things I've seen in developing countries, and I'm from one of them myself, is that we love to be served by others. Because we think that if we are served by many people, then we must be great. That is wrong. Sometimes we walk around with an entourage of 50 people, and we think we're great. That's a sign that you are not a leader. You got a psychological problem. If you need other people around you to be inferior so you can feel superior, you are psychologically damaged. Because the person who knows who they are don't need no one to make them feel like somebody. You are somebody all by yourself. That's why true leaders are willing to go alone. Eagles are leaders, aren't they? The only bird that's a leader is an eagle, and eagles never flock. Lions are leaders, aren't they, of the animal kingdom? You'll never find lions mixing with any other animal. They are always alone by themselves. Are you a leader, or do you need 1,000 people serving you? Leaders are happy keeping company with themselves. They love to talk to themselves. Are you a leader? Deploy people. May this nation find leaders, even from among this group, who will get a new revelation in this meeting today, who will walk on here saying, I'm going to be just like that. I'm going to change today. We don't need any more titles. We need leaders. You know, I discovered some of politicians. Politicians do not think of the next generation. They think of the next election. True leaders do not think of their next position. They think of the next generation. That's why I'm so glad you're here today. Clap your hands. We're talking about S.M.I.L.E, the next generation. That's true leadership. True leadership always looks to the future. Write this down. Leaders learn from others, but they never become them. You should learn from everybody, but never imitate people and lose yourself. Stop trying to be like other people. Be yourself, but learn from others. In other words, a true leader is one who leads others to leadership, because that leader will always want others to be better than him or her. I say to every woman in here, find a young woman and mentor her. I say to every man in here, find a young man or two and begin to make them better than you. Teach them what you know. Transfer your knowledge to them. This is not about you. It's about those around you. I'm not impressed with what you've done. I want to know, who did you train? Can I put it this way? If you're going to mentor, it is the greatest gift of leadership. Let me try it this way. Write this down, please. The greatest obligation of true leadership is to transfer your deposit to the next generation. I want you to write this one down, please. I'm going to say it again. The greatest obligation of true leadership is to transfer your content, everything you know, your deposit, to who? The next generation. That's your greatest obligation. Building a building doesn't make you successful, because one earthquake in 5 seconds and it's gone. Don't build buildings, build people. Some leaders love to see themselves in a statue in the middle of the city. I went to Haiti to meet with the president after the earthquake. I spent 3 days with him. We got our groups there working with Haiti right now. And when I went there, I went to the castle of the president. It was in rubbles. We met in a broken down part of it. The president of the country was in a room that was cracked. And as I drove past the rubble to get to his castle, all the statues of great men in Haiti were in rubbles. Are you building one? Leadership is not about building statues. It's about building people. Leave your future in another person. That's leadership. As a matter of fact, leadership success is measured by your successor. If you die today, will there be a fight over your position? That's the question. Is there someone you've already mentored to take your place who is better than you? That's leadership. Can I put it another way, please? Write this down. Trapped in every follower is a hidden leader, which means that your job as a leader is to release the follower from the trap. I lead the largest organization in my country today. We have built a global organization in 30 years. We are in 82 countries right now. We got offices in 17 nations, full offices. We impact over 1.6 billion people every day. And most of the time, I am not present. Do you know why? I spent the first 15 years building people to replace me. Remember, if you keep people down, the problem is you got to stay with them. The more you release people, the more you can do. Succession sets you free. Can I put it another way? Leaders do not clone others in their image. They help others to discover themselves. Listen to me, friends. Mentoring is not about making a person like you. It's about helping the person discover who they are and giving them all you learned. You are not here to produce a clone. You are here to produce a leader greater than yourself. That's what leadership is about. It's about transferring who you are and what you know to someone else to make them become greater. Here are 3 processes of leadership. 1, dependency. Everybody needs mentoring. Number two, independence. That means you must mature to the point where you can express yourself as an individual. But the greatest part of it is interdependence. Interdependence means that you begin to contribute back to the species. Mentoring is your greatest act as a leader because it means you are now giving back to the next generation what your generation gave you. Interdependence means you are no longer a parasite. You are fertilizer. Who have you produced? Not what have you produced. Who have you built? Not what have you built. I meet leaders all the time, all over the world, prime ministers, presidents. I work with them. And one of the greatest things they go into shock with is when I ask them, who's your mentee? And they can't tell me. It's a tragedy. Can I suggest to you that true leadership is never about one generation? True leadership serves not only its generation. It's supposed to serve the next generation. God is a generational God. That's why he wants you to be like him. Whenever God spoke, he never spoke to the people he was talking to. He spoke to their loins. Can I say it again? If you read the Bible carefully, whenever God spoke to a man or a woman, he was never talking to them. He was talking to their loins. He said, Abraham, out of you shall come a nation. Moses, teach the things I've taught you to the children, to the children's children, to the children's children's children. He was always talking about the next generation. We are the only people in the world who talk about ourselves. This is my company. This is my position. This is my title. This is my office. This is my business. This is my church. What's your problem? When is it going to become their business, their church, their future, their company, their nation? We got to transfer our thinking. Are you a leader? Success without a successor is failure. No matter what you've achieved in life, I don't care what your title is, I don't care what your accolades are. Do you have a successor? Because what you built could be destroyed in one day by someone who don't like you. And that's why our politicians are in trouble. Because one party comes into power and builds a bridge. The other comes and breaks it down. No spirit of succession. There are families here like your family. You spend all your life accumulating wealth for your family and building a house and building a business. And then there's a son who you didn't mentor. And after you die, he sells the house you spent all your life to build. Did not mentor your son. You can lose in a day what you built in a lifetime because you didn't create a successor. Write this down. If your vision dies with you, you are a failure. Visions don't live on in buildings. They live in people. Mentoring is the greatest act of a leader. You can lead all your life and lose your life in one day because your successor was not mentored. Can I therefore lay this on you real quickly? And this is what I call the measure of leadership. Number one, the ultimate goal of true leadership is not to maintain followers, but to produce leaders. Number two, true leadership measures success by the diminishing dependency of its followers. This is heavy. You are a leader if the people need you less. Did you hear what I just said, sir? Listen, leadership is not about people needing you. If you are a true leader, you will lose your followers. Why? Because they will become leaders themselves. The greatest statement I ever heard about leadership mentoring is by a 30-year-old man who is my mentor. He said these words. He said, "It's better for you that I go away. Because if I don't go away from you, you won't do greater works." What a mentor. We love for people to depend on us. That's a sign of sickness. You have insecurity problems. The less your people need you, the greater you are. Jesus Christ, the greatest leader of all time, he said, "It's good that I go away. It's better for you that I leave." You know he was not from Nigeria. Because our position is this: nothing happens without me in this company. You are sick. If you think that way, you'll be amazed how quickly they replace you when you die. Before your body is cold, they'll have a replacement in your life. So the quick thing to do is to produce others to take your place. Can I suggest to you then that the ultimate measure of leadership is your ability to leave? Do you know that leadership is not what happens to you in your presence? Can I repeat it? Leadership is not what happens in your presence. It's measured by what happens in your absence. That's why some people are afraid to go on vacations. Even politicians are afraid to go on vacations. They may lose their seat. They are insecure. Some pastors are afraid to go on vacation because they believe the next pastor will take their place. That means you didn't mentor, you didn't train properly. Jesus Christ is the only leader I know who, when he left, his company grew in his absence. Because he mentored 11 men. He lost one, remember? You'll always lose a couple. Ladies and gentlemen, true leadership makes itself increasingly unnecessary. If you are a true leader, you make yourself increasingly unnecessary. You train people so well, you can be absent and things run better than when you are present. I have 5 companies and they run without me. I provide vision and inspiration, that's all. Because I train people to do everything. That's why I can come to you today. Because I trained them. If I didn't train them, I couldn't come to you to talk. Release people. And then you release yourself. Train people and free yourself. Mentor people and you'll be delivered from people. May your mindset be transformed. Because your successful leadership is when your followers can lead others. Let me close just with a couple of thoughts I want you to think about. True leaders set others to be free, to be leaders. True leaders also provide opportunity for others to develop their gifts. True leadership also is about success of your successor. True leadership thinks generationally. True leadership measures its effectiveness by what happens in their absence. True leadership is about securing mature environment for others to be more successful than you. It's not about you controlling your position. Can I suggest to you then that true leaders rejoice when their followers become greater than they are? Now that is definitely something that needs to happen in this country. When you see someone beginning to expand and progress, what do? We snuff them out. When somebody speaks better than us, we don't give no more opportunity to speak. When someone starts to emerge and look more smart and wiser than us, we try to keep them out of position. You are not a leader. You are an insecure person. Insecurity is threatened by other people's success. But a true leader rejoices when others around him are better Can I suggest to you then that we need to go back to the first act of leadership? Please write this one down in bold letters. Write this down carefully. Everyone write it down. Here's what it is. Are you ready? Here we go. The first act of true leadership is to identify your replacement and start mentoring them. Wow. The first act of a true leader is to identify their replacement and begin training them. Boy, that's amazing. The first act that my mentor did, his name was Yeshua. He went to the beach and found a guy named Peter. And he started training him right away. And in 3 years, he left the whole company in his hands. Who are you training? Is there someone in your office that you've taken the time to pour your life into? Or are you using your strength to defend your position from them? Are you generous with your authority? Do you give it away? Do you delegate? Do you mentor? Do you train? Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you an interesting statement made by my mentor. He said these words. He said, a student is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. But look at the next statement. He says, is it not enough for the what? The student to be how? Just like the teacher. He said that. You know, when you are the teacher, you don't want no student to be like you. You always want to be on top. He said, a smart teacher makes his student just like him. He teaches the kid everything. Is there someone in your life you are giving everything to? My son is 27 years old. He is the managing director of my investment company. I trained my son from age 11 to think like a leader. He went to college, got his degrees, came back with a master's degree in business. My son is now running millions of dollars worth of my company business. 27 years old. I took him to my banker. I said, now he's now in charge of all my accounts. I took him to my insurance agent. I said, he's now in charge of my account. I took him to my lawyer. I said, he's now in charge of my business. I turned all my wealth and strength over to my son. Why? I mentored him. I could trust him because I created him. Who have you mentored? Leadership is not about you. The student should be just like the teacher. And the servant should be just like his master. The British made sure you and I were not like them. Let's not be like them. They didn't teach us anything except to serve slaves. Let's not be like them. Let's teach our people that they are leaders, that all of them can lead in some area of gifting, and make room for them to lead, and don't oppress anyone. Set them free to become their best. Let's be a different group of leaders. Let's be those who are known as the mentors, because that's what it's about. Here's a statement I love made by my great mentor. He said, all authority is given unto me. The next statement is, therefore. Therefore means, this is what it's there for. You go, he says. If you ever give an African all authority, they don't give it to nobody else. They kill everybody around them to protect it. But here's this leader with a different attitude. He says, I have authority. I'm going to give it out to everybody. He gave the whole thing away to them. Authority is not for you. It's for delegation. The purpose for authority is to release the authority in other people. There are people around you who can do everything you're doing better than you. Ronald Reagan was one of the great presidents of the United States. I'll never forget when I first met Ronald Reagan. Boy, that was interesting. He said something to me. He was in a luncheon. I went to meet him. I shook his hand. I said, Mr. President, it's good to meet you, sir. I was very younger. I said, sir, what is your greatest secret to being the president of the United States? He said, I'm an actor. I'm not a leader. I'm not a president. I'm an actor. I'm from Hollywood. He said, but my secret is I staff my weakness and take the credit. Let me say it again. He said, I staff my weaknesses and I take the credit. I find people smarter than me and put them around me to do what I cannot do. And then I tell everybody, I did it. That was his solution. He transferred authority. You were not born to do everything. Can I suggest to you then that S.M.I.L.E is the greatest gift that was recently given to Nigeria? Because it's a program that focuses on mentoring the future. Let me leave you with these thoughts. Write this down. If you're going to be a great leader, number one, plan your departure the day you arrive. The minute you are promoted, start planning your departure. Boy, what a leader, huh? Do you know what we do when we arrive in our positions? We buy a seat belt. Nobody gonna move me. I'm gonna die in this position. I'm gonna retire here. I'm gonna get my pension here. You are sick. Every position should be a stepping stone to the next one. There's a greater life ahead of you, but the one you are sitting in is leaving you trapped from getting there. Find a replacement and release yourself to the next position of greatness. Who could be greater than Jesus Christ on earth? Wow. Guess what he said? I can't wait to leave. Why do we hold on so tight? Because we are insecure. If you get your value and worth from your title, you are in danger. Because you must never lose your title. Otherwise, you will lose your value. If you get your self of self-worth from your position, then you never better lose your position, or you will lose your self-worth. Don't get your self-worth from your title, your position. Give the position self-worth. Number two, finishing well is more important than anything else in life. You can start as a great leader. How are you going to finish? Finish by leaving someone better in your place. Number three, mentoring is a non-negotiable function of successful leadership. You can't negotiate mentoring. It's a necessity if you're going to become a successful leader. By the way, the word succession is the only word that has success in it. You are not successful without a successor. It doesn't matter what you've done. Do you have a successor? If you don't have a successor, then you are a failure. Because succession is the only measure of success. Who protects your dreams that you built? A successor. Number four, write it down. Leaders must know when it's time to leave a position. Every country in Africa needs this one badly. Don't let them drive you away. Leave. You should never stay too long in any position. Know when it's time to leave. Don't let them tell you to go. It's too late. Number five, write this down. The more damage is done when leaders stay too long than those who leave too early. It's more important to leave too early than to stay too late. Some people got to be killed out of their position. They wouldn't pass it on. I had a dream one night. I don't dream much. But I had a dream one night about leadership. You want to hear my dream? Here's the dream. I went to a funeral. And I was sitting in the funeral with my friends. And there's this guy in the casket. And everybody was going up there. He was a great athlete. The guy who died was an athlete. And everybody was going up there and paying their last respects to the dead body. They were all famous athletes going up there. And then my turn came to go and pay respects to this person. And I walked up to the casket and looked inside the casket. His body was beautiful. He looked like an athlete still. He had on a beautiful suit, a track suit. And then I saw something I never forgot. I saw his hands on his chest. And one of his hands had a baton in it. A baton. Wow. I woke up and I was afraid. Because some people want to hold on to the position so tight, they will die with the baton. They couldn't pry it from his hands. He wouldn't pass it on. Are you going to die that way? This is my position. What? You are not supposed to be president forever. Only for a season. You are not supposed to be pastor forever. Only for a season. You ain't supposed to be manager forever. Only for a season. So prepare your replacement now. Mentor someone. Number 6, your greatest contribution to the future is not your money. It's your successor. My success is already running my company. If I die today, nothing will happen except growth. If you died now, what would happen to all you've built? That's the question. Who are you mentoring? I want to leave you with reasons why we don't have good leaders in developing countries. Number 1, we replicate poor leadership examples. If he killed to get there, I'll kill to get there. If he worked corruption to get there, I'll work corruption to get there. We have bad examples. We follow bad examples. Why don't we have great leaders? We lack good models and mentors. The reason why we don't mentor people is because no one mentored us. So what do we say? No one helped me get here. I helped nobody else get here. I got here by my own hard work and my own conniving and my own scheming. Let him get there by himself. You are not a leader. You are an insecure puppet. That's why we don't have good leaders. We have no one to model. Why don't we have good leaders in our countries? We lack formal training. That's why Pippi came to the Bahamas and she spent 4 days in our leadership training. She came back and began this organization. Why? We train leaders to become who they were born to be. I invite all of you to come to the Bahamas in November. Join us and let us be together and let's come back and change Nigeria to the greatest nation on the earth. It can be done by you and you and you, because inside of you is a great woman and an awesome man. But it can only happen if you believe in mentoring others. Why don't we have great leaders? We lack confidence to delegate. We're afraid to give people power because we think they will run away with it. If you train someone and mentor them, they won't steal your power. They'll serve you with it. Why don't we have great leaders in Africa? We lack the power of letting go. We don't want to let go. Look at Mr. Gaddafi. I mean, the guy, it's just, why don't you understand? We don't want you forever. Tell your neighbor, I don't want you forever. Get it through your head. You are not there forever. Know when to let go. Everybody clap your hand real fast. Come on. You got to let go. There are some pastors I know who are hanging on to the pulpit. This is my pulpit. I started this church. I'm the bishop. Oh, man, get out of here. Let go. We don't want to let go. That job you have, where you going to go tomorrow? They could fire you tomorrow afternoon. So be prepared to go. Why don't we have great leaders? We lack people. We're more concerned about paperwork than people work. In other words, we're concerned about pushing paper than pushing people. We bog ourselves down in details and not develop people. Why don't we have great leaders in our countries? Because we have the absence of affirmation. Nobody helped me, so I ain't helping nobody. No one encouraged me, so I ain't encouraging nobody. What kind of spirit is that? That's the spirit of a destroyer. I am so proud of Bimpy and her husband. I am so proud. I walked in here and I go, this is great. I rejoice with her success. I don't become jealous of her. She's my pride and joy. She should be greater than I am. Is there someone you're making greater than yourself? Number 8 is dangerous. We don't have great leaders because we don't like mavericks. What is a maverick? A maverick is someone who comes into your environment and they are always challenging you. They're questioning you. We don't want them around. We want yes men around us all the time. That's why we ain't got no great leaders. We want people who obey us, not people who challenge us. A great leader loves mavericks because mavericks are the ones who make you grow. They make you stretch. They make you see your own weaknesses. There are some people on my board who are always my best blessings because they always question my programs. I love it. They saved me many times from my own foolishness by their very questions. Mavericks will ask you, why are you still doing it like this? It ain't working, sir. Yeah, but this is the way it's been for 40 years. I know, sir, but it ain't working no more, sir. Oh, shut up. You're just a young man. Yes, sir, but sir, it ain't working. I've been here for 45 years. Yeah, but sir, it ain't working. I'm your senior. It ain't working, sir. Mavericks. So we kill them. We get rid of them. We put them in the corner. Those young people out there are your greatest assets because they got new ideas. Some of our brains are so old, they stop thinking already. We need some new brains to come and help us think again. And number 9, the reason why we don't create leaders is because we have a dictatorship spirit in decision making. This is the way it will be. This is the way I say it will be. This is the way I want it done. And no one questions me. No wonder why you haven't produced any leaders. Are you a leader? Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you why we don't mentor. And this is what I want to close on. First of all, we don't mentor. Write this down, please. Everyone, write this down. Why don't we mentor people? Here's why. Number 1. First, we don't mentor people because job security. What is job security? We don't mentor people because we don't want nobody to take our job. We are so insecure that we are afraid to train our replacements. So we mentor nobody. Why don't we mentor? Number 2, because we fear retirement. We think that once we mentor people, we're going to go into retirement. No. When you mentor people, you can go to your next level of life. Why don't we mentor people? Because we resist change. We don't want to enter a new phase of life. We are so trapped in our old habits and in our old position, we are afraid to move on. Why don't we mentor in life? Because we have poor self-worth. We tie our worth to our position and our title. And we are afraid to lose our position and our title because we lose our self-worth and our value. Do you know why some people become depressed when they get fired? Because they didn't just lose a job. they lost their life. Don't ever make your position your life. There are some presidents of countries that I've met who actually have gone senile when they lost their election, because they tied their life to the title. There's life after being a president. There's life after being a pastor. There's life after being the CEO. There's life after being the manager. There's life after being the elder. There's life after being even a parent. There are some parents who have gone senile because their kids have grown up. They got their self-worth from their children. They forgot that parenting was only a temporary job. Who are you mentoring? Why are we afraid to mentor? Because we lack confidence in our successors. We believe that we're still better than they are, so we don't trust them with responsibility. That means you failed to mentor. Why don't we mentor? Because we love the people around us more than our jobs. We believe that if we lose our environment, we lose our lives. So we want to stay around the people who serve us because they give us value. And finally, why don't we mentor? Because we believe if we mentor, we will lose all the investment that we made in our lives. I've spent 50 years building this church, 50 years building this company, 40 years building this country, and now I got to pass it on to you? Sick. The reason for developing the country, the reason for developing the company, the reason for developing the ministry is to pass it on.